This is an overview for Mosiah, chapters 18 through 24 in the Book of Mormon, another testament of Jesus Christ. In the last few chapters, the wicked King Noah and his priests had just put to death the prophet Abinadi for preaching the death and captivity of the rulers and the people if they didn't repent, and for teaching about Jesus Christ's mission on earth. One of the priests, Alma, tried to convince the king not to kill Abinadi, but had to flee for his life for doing so. He then wrote down the teachings of Abinadi. In chapter 18, Alma preaches the words of Abinadi in private among the people. He teaches the covenants of baptism and baptizes many at a place called the Waters of Mormon. He organizes the Church of Christ and ordains priests who support themselves and teach the gospel to the people. King Noah learns of their gatherings, wrongly supposes Alma is leading a rebellion, and sends an army after them. But the Lord warns Alma, and he and his people flee into the wilderness. In chapter 19, the people begin to rise up against King Noah, and a man named Gideon seeks the king's life, but spares him as the city is being attacked by the Lamanites. Upon fleeing into the wilderness with his people, King Noah tells all his men to leave their wives and children behind, and when they want to return and Noah refuses, they burn him and his priests flee. The Lamanites allow Noah's son, Limhi, to rule as a tributary monarch, and the people are forced to give half of all they have. In chapters 20 through 22, some of the Lamanite daughters are abducted by the wicked priests that were hiding in the wilderness. This mistakenly causes a war again by the Lamanites against Limhi's people. The Lamanites are repelled and pacified as Gideon helps place the logical blame on the priests still hiding in the wilderness. However, over time, the people are continually oppressed by the Lamanites, and there are more battles in which the people of Limhi are beaten each time. They begin to humble themselves and cry unto the Lord for deliverance. The hearts of the Lamanites are softened. Limhi's people prosper by degrees. Their burdens are made lighter, and then Ammon arrives, giving them hope for deliverance. The people covenant with the Lord to serve him and keep his commandments, and they tell Ammon of the record they found while looking for the city of Zarahemla up north. Gideon proposes a plan. They escape the city, and they aren't discovered by the pursuing Lamanite army. They are delivered. They find their way to Zarahemla, and they become subject to King Mosiah, marking the end of the record of Zeniff. Chapters 23 to 24 contain an account of Alma and the covenant people of the Lord, who were driven into the wilderness by the wicked King Noah. They find a land with clear water and begin to build a city. Alma serves as their high priest, but refuses to be their king, teaching them of the dangers of esteeming one flesh above another and about the bad influence an unrighteous king can have on a people. The Lord allows his people to be chastened as the Lamanites find and conquer them and place in power one of the wicked priests of Noah as their king, subject to the Lamanites. This king Amulon oppresses Alma and his people and commands that they are to be put to death if they pray to God. The people of Alma pray in private. The Lord makes their burdens seem light, and they are eventually delivered from their bondage, and they return to Zarahemla. Some important principles covered in these chapters are baptism and divine deliverance of the humble and faithful. The covenant of baptism is where followers of Christ promise to strive to keep the commandments, take Christ's name upon themselves and be a witness for him, as well as to serve one another in a church community and lift one another's burdens. God, in turn, promises to redeem his covenant followers from sin and from injustices they experience in life, as well as to pour out his Spirit more abundantly upon them. In practice, with Limhi's people and Alma's people, we see how God's humble and faithful followers have their burdens made light, and they are eventually delivered in God's timing. And that's Mosiah chapters 18 through 24.